The Mirror of Choices. In the heart of a quaint little town called Millbrook, where cobblestone streets wound between ivy-covered buildings and gas lamps cast gentle pools of light in the evening, there stood an antique shop unlike any other. The shop occupied a Victorian-era building with deep burgundy walls and gold-trimmed windows, its facade adorned with delicate architectural details that spoke of times long past. The establishment belonged to Eleanor Blackwood, a woman whose precise age remained a pleasant mystery to the townspeople. Her silver-streaked dark hair was always elegantly styled in a loose bun, and her eyes carried the warmth of afternoon sunlight filtering through honey. Eleanor had inherited the shop from her grandmother, who had received it from her grandmother before her, creating a legacy that stretched back through generations of remarkable women. Among the treasures that filled the shop, gleaming brass telescopes, intricately carved music boxes, and timepieces that whispered secrets of bygone eras, there existed one item that held particular significance. This was the Mirror of Possibilities, though Eleanor never advertised it as such. The mirror stood 7 feet tall, its frame crafted from ancient oak and adorned with carved symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed from different angles. The mirror possessed a peculiar quality that manifested only for certain individuals, those who stood at crossroads in their lives, those whose hearts carried the weight of choices made and paths not taken. To these special visitors, the mirror revealed not just their reflection, but glimpses of lives that might have been, and more mysteriously, lives that could still be. On a misty autumn morning, the shop's brass bell chimed softly as Maya Chen stepped inside. Maya worked as a kindergarten teacher at the local school, her days filled with finger paintings and alphabet songs. While she adored her young students, a persistent whisper in her heart spoke of dreams deferred, of the dance career she had abandoned years ago when practical considerations led her to choose a more stable profession. Eleanor observed Maya as she wandered through the shop, her fingers trailing lightly over dusty leather-bound books and collections of vintage photographs. There was something in the young woman's bearing that suggested both grace and hesitation, as if she carried music within her that longed to be expressed. Eleanor recognized the signs, the slight furrow between Maya's brows, the way her gaze seemed to look beyond the physical objects before her. The mirror was calling. Maya found herself drawn to the far corner of the shop, where filtered sunlight created a soft, ethereal glow around the towering mirror. As she approached, the air seemed to grow warmer, carrying the faintest scent of spring flowers and distant rain. Eleanor quietly approached, standing just far enough away to provide both presence and privacy. As Maya gazed into the mirror's depths, the reflection began to shift, like ripples spreading across a still pond. The scene before her transformed, and she witnessed herself on a stage, moving with fluid grace through a contemporary dance piece. The performance spoke of choices and consequences, of dreams held close and sometimes set aside. Yet rather than filling her with regret, the vision stirred something different in her heart. The mirror showed her not just the path not taken, but the wisdom gained from the choice she had made. It revealed the joy she had brought to countless children, the lives she had touched in ways that reached far beyond the classroom. And more surprisingly, it showed her possibilities that still lay ahead, community dance programs she could create, ways to weave her passion for movement into her teaching, enriching both aspects of her life. Eleanor watched as understanding dawned on Maya's face, replacing the wistful longing that had marked her features when she entered the shop. The mirror had worked its particular magic, not by feeding regret, but by illuminating the beauty of choices made with honest hearts, and the endless potential that existed in every present moment. As the morning light strengthened, casting long shadows through the shop's windows, Maya turned away from the mirror with a smile that spoke of peace rather than resignation. Eleanor approached her then, sharing quiet observations about how sometimes the most beautiful dances were those that life choreographed through unexpected turns and transitions. The story of the Mirror of Possibilities was just beginning, as other seekers would find their way to its revealing surface, each discovering not what they had lost, but what they had gained, and what still lay waiting in the realm of possibility. As the seasons turned and autumn leaves danced past the shop windows, more visitors found their way to Eleanor's establishment. Among them was Marcus Sullivan, a retired librarian whose weathered hands had touched thousands of books throughout his career. His silver hair and wire-rimmed glasses gave him the appearance of someone who had stepped out of one of the vintage photographs adorning the shop's walls. Marcus had recently lost his wife of 40 years, and his days felt hollow without her presence. He spent his mornings tending to their shared garden, afternoons walking through the park where they had first met, and evenings sitting in his quiet house, surrounded by memories. His children worried about him, gently suggesting he might consider moving closer to them in the city. On this particular afternoon, the autumn sun cast long shadows through the shop's windows as Marcus wandered among the shelves. Eleanor noticed how his fingers lingered on objects from the 1960s, a transistor radio, a collection of vinyl records, small tokens from the era when he and his wife had first fallen in love. The mirror beckoned to him with its gentle presence, and Marcus found himself standing before its ornate frame. As he gazed into its depths, the surface began to ripple like water disturbed by a gentle breeze. The reflection showed him moments from his past, choices made decades ago when he and his wife had decided to remain in their small town rather than pursuing opportunities in larger cities. But instead of showing him a life of missed opportunities, the mirror revealed the rich tapestry they had woven together in their chosen home. It showed him the generations of children they had guided toward a love of reading, the community they had helped build, and the deep roots they had planted. More importantly, it showed him something unexpected about his present and future. In the mirror's depths, Marcus saw himself sharing stories with young children at the local library, his eyes bright with purpose. He saw himself writing down the tales his wife had loved best, preserving them for future generations. The mirror revealed not just what might have been, but what could still be, a life still full of meaning and connection, transformed but not diminished by loss. As winter approached, another seeker found their way to the mirror. Sofia Rodriguez, a talented chef who had inherited her family's restaurant, stood before its surface one snowy evening. The restaurant had been a cornerstone of the community for 3 generations, serving traditional recipes passed down through her family. Yet Sofia had always dreamed of innovating, of blending cuisines and creating something uniquely her own. The mirror showed her glimpses of what might have happened had she left to study at prestigious culinary schools in Europe. But rather than filling her with regret, it revealed how her choice to stay had preserved something precious, not just recipes, but the stories and traditions woven into every dish. It showed her possibilities she hadn't considered, ways to honor tradition while gradually introducing her own creative touches, building bridges between the old and the new. Eleanor watched these transformations with quiet satisfaction, noting how each visitor left the shop carrying not just their reflections, but a renewed sense of purpose. The mirror's magic lay not in showing people what they had missed, but in helping them understand the value of what they had chosen, and the myriad possibilities that still lay ahead. As winter deepened, the shop became a warm haven from the cold. Soft lamplight gleamed on polished wood and brass, and the scent of Eleanor's cinnamon tea filled the air. The mirror continued its gentle work, drawing those who needed its particular kind of wisdom. The winter snow melted into spring, and with the changing season came new visitors to Eleanor's shop. Among them was young Thomas Parker, barely 25, who had recently inherited his grandfather's carpentry workshop. Despite his natural talent for woodworking, Thomas had been considering selling the workshop to pursue a career in technology, believing that traditional craftsmanship had no place in the modern world. On a rain-fresh morning, when the shop windows were beaded with droplets that caught the light like tiny prisms, Thomas found himself drawn to the mirror. Eleanor observed how his fingers unconsciously traced the wooden frame's intricate carvings, noting the inherent understanding in his touch. As Thomas gazed into the mirror's depths, it showed him visions of a life immersed in the digital world, creating virtual realities and complex programs. But then the vision shifted, revealing something unexpected. It showed him his grandfather's workshop transformed, combining traditional craftsmanship with modern technology. He saw himself creating stunning pieces that married old-world artistry with contemporary design, teaching others to appreciate the beauty of handcrafted work in a digital age. The mirror revealed how his choice wasn't between tradition and innovation, but rather an opportunity to bridge both worlds. It showed him possibilities he hadn't considered, using technology to preserve and share traditional techniques, creating a community of makers who valued both the old and the new. As spring blossomed into summer, the mirror welcomed another seeker. Dr. Emily Watson, a brilliant research scientist, had recently turned down a prestigious position at a major pharmaceutical company to continue her work at the local medical center. The position would have provided more resources and recognition, but would have required her to shift focus from her passion, developing treatments for rare diseases that affected the community's children. The mirror showed her glimpses of the recognition and acclaim she might have achieved in the corporate world. But it also revealed the impact of her chosen path, the lives she had touched, the families she had helped, and the groundbreaking work she was doing on a smaller but more meaningful scale. More importantly, it showed her future possibilities, collaborations with other researchers, grants that could fund her work, and ways to expand her research while staying true to her purpose. Throughout the seasons, Eleanor noticed how the mirror's influence extended beyond individual visitors, creating ripples throughout the community. Maya's dance programs brought joy and movement to her students and their families. Marcus's storytelling sessions at the library became weekly events that bridged generations. Sophia's restaurant evolved into a place where tradition and innovation danced together in perfect harmony. Thomas's workshop became a space where digital designers and traditional craftspeople collaborated on extraordinary projects. The mirror's magic lay not in showing people perfect alternatives to their choices, but in helping them understand the wisdom and potential inherent in the paths they had chosen. It revealed how every decision, even those that seemed to close doors, opened windows to new possibilities. As another year turned toward autumn, Eleanor reflected on her own choice to maintain the shop and guard its secrets. The mirror had shown her many possibilities over the years, but she had always known that her place was here, helping others discover the beauty and potential in their own choices. One particular evening, as the sun set and cast golden light through the shop's windows, Eleanor received an unexpected visitor. Sarah Matthews, a young journalist who had been following the subtle changes in the community, had noticed how certain people seemed transformed after visiting the antique shop. Their lives took on new direction and purpose, as if they had discovered something profound among the vintage treasures. Eleanor watched as Sarah explored the shop, noting how the young woman's curious eyes took in every detail. Like many journalists, Sarah had chosen her profession out of a desire to uncover truth and tell important stories. Yet lately, she had been questioning whether her focus on local stories was significant enough, whether she should have pursued opportunities with larger newspapers in bigger cities. As Sarah approached the mirror, Eleanor sensed that this encounter would be different. The mirror didn't just show Sarah alternative paths she might have taken, it revealed to her the extraordinary story unfolding right here in Millbrook. It showed her how the choices of each visitor to the shop had woven together, creating a tapestry of interconnected lives and shared purpose. The mirror revealed how Maya's dance programs had inspired Thomas to design special wooden floors for her studio, how Marcus's storytelling sessions had preserved Sophia's family recipes through tales of community and tradition, how Dr. Watson's research had been enriched by connections made during these gatherings. Sarah saw how her own role as a chronicler of local life was essential to preserving and sharing these stories of transformation and possibility. As the evening deepened into night, Eleanor shared a cup of tea with Sarah, speaking of how choices were never truly final, but rather starting points for new possibilities. She explained how the mirror's gift was not in showing what might have been, but in revealing the potential that existed in every present moment, in every choice already made. The story of the mirror of possibilities continued to unfold, season after season. New seekers found their way to its revealing surface, each discovering not regret for paths not taken, but appreciation for the wisdom of their choices and excitement for possibilities yet to come. The mirror remained a constant presence, its frame growing more beautiful with age, its surface holding countless reflections of lives transformed not by magic, but by understanding. Eleanor knew that the true magic lay not in the mirror itself, but in the human heart's capacity for growth and transformation. The mirror simply helped people see what was already there, the beauty of their choices, the wisdom of their journeys, and the endless possibilities that awaited those who were ready to embrace them. As darkness fell and the gas lamps cast their gentle glow along the cobblestone streets, Eleanor prepared to close the shop for another day. She looked into the mirror one last time, seeing not just her own reflection, but the countless lives touched by its presence, the community strengthened by shared understanding, and the possibilities that still lay ahead, waiting to be discovered by those who would find their way to this special place, seeking answers but finding something far more valuable, the ability to see the beauty and potential in their own choices. And so the mirror continued its gentle work, helping each visitor understand that every choice, every path taken or not taken, was part of a larger story, a story of growth, wisdom, and the endless possibilities that exist in every moment, waiting to be discovered by those with the courage to look deeply into their own reflections and see not what might have been, but what still could be.